Hi everybody. I'm going to try to do an overview of cover letters to see if that will help. We'll give you some introductory information and maybe get you started with this project. Just give you some basic information about it. Uh, Basically, you want to write it in a block style letter format, and that means everything's at the left margin. The exception would be that you can use the same heading as your resume, so that if you had the exact same font, the exact same size and everything of your resume can be at the top, and I'll show you some examples. And then you would start doing everything, starting with the date, would be at the flush left margin. So you want to use the same basic font as your resume, but of course you're not going to be using italics and bolding and all of that. It's just going to be basic font. It should be in at least an 11 probably. So just because you decide you want to write more doesn't mean you can just decrease your font and then fill up a whole page. So be careful about that, so that the person doesn't sort of dread reading it, looking at it as being such a long letter. Let's see, I told you that the heading can match. You don't use any abbreviations in your heading or in the address of the employer when you're writing your letter. So make sure that you write out South Carolina, write out the date fully, in everything, so that you're not using abbreviations and those kinds of things. The date goes after your address at the top, after your heading. You're going to skip a line if you're just doing it flush left, if you're doing everything flush left. But if you're doing a big heading the same to match your resume, then just skip 2 or 3 lines and then type the date at flush left margin, and then skip a line and do the employer's name and address. I'm going to show you lots of examples, which I think is the best way for you to learn this, or to decide how you want to do it. But I'm just going to go through some of the basics first. So after the employer's name, you need to write their credentials and or title. Some people don't have a credential, many nurse recruiters are not registered nurses or anything. But if it is a nurse or anything like that, then you want to write their credentials, which would be the MSN, RN, or whatever it is. If you're not sure what kind of degree they have, you can just put RN. But again, not every nurse recruiter is a nurse. So if you're not sure, don't put that part. But what I don't want you to do on this top line, on this where you're going to put the employer's address and all that, when you're putting Paul Jackson, MSN, RN, you do not put Mr. Paul Jackson there. The Mr. or Ms. is not going to go in front of the name in the inside address. Which is what this is called. Okay, so just the name, or the name and the credentials. Then the title, the job title, could be nurse manager, could be human resources manager, nurse recruiter, whatever. Then the name of the hospital or the facility, the address, the exact mailing address, including the zip code. Okay? And then you get to the part where you're saying, Dear Mr. Smith or Dear Ms. Smith. Just want you to make sure you know that you never use Mrs. or Miss, M-I-S-S. So even if you know the person's married, if a woman is, unless you have been asked to call them Mrs. or Miss, if they have asked you to do that, that's different, but that would be very unusual. So you always do MS for any woman, and then Mr. for the men. If you don't know who this person is, if you just know it's a nurse recruiter, it's okay up at the top to just say Nurse Recruiter, Palmetto Health, Richland, because you don't know which nurse recruiter it's going to go to. And if that's the case, then when you get to the Dear part, you're just going to say Dear Nurse Recruiter, like I've written right here, Dear Nurse Recruiter, or Dear Nurse Manager, whatever. But you don't always know their name. Okay, it's always nice to know their name if you can. I think especially if you're really being competitive with the job, you can actually call the HR department and ask them who to address the letter to. Okay, make sure in your first paragraph that you state immediately that you're applying for a registered nurse position and which unit, if you know. Because they don't want to have to fish through the whole letter to figure out what job you're applying for. Remember, they're responsible for a lot of different positions, so you want to make sure they understand you're looking for a registered nurse position. And then you need to try to tell them what exactly you're applying for. You know, which job are you especially interested in? And there's several different approaches to this based on your goal, because sometimes you want to be very specific, and if they don't have a job in that area, you don't want to work there. Other times you don't want to close any doors, so you want to state what you would like to have, but if they don't have that, you'll accept something else. You don't want them to just put your resume aside if they don't have your first choice. So it depends on what your goal is. So the first approach would be very very open and very flexible. I will consider any clinical area depending on your needs, or I'm interested in any medical surgical position. That would be considered pretty general, that kind of thing. The specific approach would be I am interested in a position in labor and delivery or newborn nursery. Say you could name 2 areas or maybe even 3. But again, that means that you don't mind if they don't have a position in those areas. You don't mind if they put your resume aside and don't call you for anything else, okay? Because sometimes on these really highly coveted areas like at labor and delivery, you're going to have to work in some related area first to kind of earn your spot there. Like postpartum, it's common to have people work postpartum for a year before they can get labor and delivery. So you may want to word it in a way that lets them know you're willing to do that. Okay, and then a compromised approach, would sort of mixing those two, would be I'm especially interested in a position in critical care or emergency nursing. However, I am willing to discuss medical surgical positions as well. So again, if you know you want to work at a certain hospital no matter what, then you want to be careful how you word this so that you don't close any doors and they don't set your resume aside. So just keep that in mind. You may have to write this paragraph differently depending on where you're applying. So you might have 2 or 3 cover letters. State why you chose this facility. That's really important. You want to explain to them, why I especially want to work for you. Why did I choose this hospital? This is your chance to sort of give them a compliment, recognize some accomplishments that they've made, their reputation, for excellence, something like that. But the other thing to consider is that sometimes you want to work there because that's where you live. So in a way to say that is to say that you want to work in the same hospital where you live, so you can serve your own community and give back or something like that. Sometimes that can be to your advantage because a lot of hospitals are looking for local people, even though it may not be fair. And I'm not sure it's always the best approach, but what they've learned is that people who live nearby are most likely to stay. Other people might commute for a while, but they'll probably move on. So if you're interested in your own hometown hospital, it might be a real advantage for you to state that. Okay, secondly, state why they should choose you. So you've already said why you chose them. Now tell them why they should choose you. And this might be throughout your letter. But at some parts of your letter you need to explain, probably your second and third paragraph, what are your strengths and qualifications and what makes you especially suited for this position. Or at least especially a good employee in general, or good, that you're going to be good at whatever floor you're on. So there's ways to say all of those things. State when you're going to be available to start working, and that's usually in your first paragraph as well. You're usually going to say, that you're going to graduate on such and such a date and will be available soon after, and something like that. I'll show you some examples. And then I'm just happen to think that I probably should tell you that you need to be careful about using the words 4 West and 3 West and 3 East, things like that, unless you're applying at TRMC, because nobody knows what that means. To put a letter, that you're sending to Roper Hospital and you're saying that you have experience on 3 West and 4 West tells them nothing. So you need to say medical surgical or post-surgical floor or something like that. Spell it out for them so that you're not using abbreviations that don't make any sense. Of course, your grammar and punctuation and your sentence structuring is very, very important, because this is the employer's chance to take a look at you, and yourself that reading what a person writes says a lot about them sometimes. So it can speak very well of you, or it can shine a very bad light on you. So make sure your grammar is good, and of course hopefully you're going to get that kind of thing corrected by somebody. But you also just the way you put your paragraphs together and the way you express yourself can be very cookie cutter. It looks like you just copied somebody's thing off the internet and it sounds like everybody else's. They're going to know that. They do nothing but read cover letters and resumes. So you want to be genuine and honest, but also have some personality showing through your sentence structure, or just through your ideas, basically. Do not start every sentence with I. It's one of the biggest. Didn't mean to do that. Let me go back. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see is that it's very hard to write a letter that's focused on yourself without saying I over and over and over. So try very hard not to do that. You can say I in the sentence, but don't start every sentence with I. So that shows some flexibility in your writing and a lot more interesting kind of letter. So be careful about that. Be sure to thank the reader in the last paragraph. You want to thank them for their time and for their consideration of your resume in some way. You must somehow thank them for their time. That's sort of a etiquette thing and is considered sort of required. Okay, so and then also in that last paragraph, even though you might have your phone number at the top of in your heading, you're still supposed to restate it in the end, or tell them how best to get in touch with you. So if you're going to give them your cell phone number, tell them, if I don't answer, I'll return your call, or whatever, if you don't think you're going to be answering your phone all the time, which you won't because you'll be in class. So be sure and state that, you may reach me best at this number, or tell them when you're available for an interview, that sort of thing. It's, sometimes you'll say, my spring break is during the week of March the 5th, and I would be available for an interview anytime during that week. Or you can say, I'm available most Fridays, whatever you want to do to give them some idea of when to get in touch with you or when you be available. Okay, the cover letter is your chance to sort of just introduce yourself to the employer. Just say your purpose for writing the letter, and it's your chance to create an image of who you are as a professional. So in the end, when you finished writing it and you read it over, it should have a certain tone to it and a certain introduction of the person, some kind of portrait of the person. Gives you a chance to sell yourself, talk about yourself and what your accomplishments are and what your strengths are. I mean, it's one of those chances that you have permission to sort of brag a little bit. Brag is probably not the best word because bragging is a negative thing, but it's your opportunity to talk about yourself and your accomplishments without, without inflating anything, but you're also trying to put it in the best light you can. It's a chance to explain why a certain patient population interests you. I don't know, I think I messed something up in that sentence, but the reason that you particularly want to work where you're asking to work. Maybe if you're especially interested in labor and delivery, you need to explain why. Why is it, what is it that makes you either suited for that, or what has piqued your interest in that area? And sometimes any area you choose can be a personal story. And I think I told you that, that one student that I talked about that had a history of cancer, but she didn't want to use that in her letter. And that's a personal choice, but sometimes your personal story is a family member that was sick or a family member that was cared for at that particular hospital, and you were impressed with the care that they gave, and you would consider it an honor to work there. It can also be, a pediatric story or something about, your own child or someone that you know and that you want to see yourself in that light, as that type of nurse. It's okay to make it a little bit personal like that. Express your personality, passion, and enthusiasm. So you don't want to overdo it with all the passion and everything. You can't be passionate about everything, but it needs to come across as you're enthusiastic person and you're excited about being a nurse. You should be. You're just graduating. This should be a very exciting time for you, and something that you're really looking forward to, and you're at the threshold of getting into your career. So all of that enthusiasm should come across in some way. You shouldn't come across as dull and just going through the motions of writing a letter because you're required to write the letter. That's just not going to get their attention. Okay, a couple little extra little things. Don't just say again what you already said in your resume. They have already read your resume, so this is in addition to. Now you can highlight something that was in your resume, bring out some detail, but you're not going to just have a letter that repeats everything you already said in your resume. You always keep it to one page. I can't think of any exceptions to that, at least as a new graduate. Your tone should come across as professional, friendly, and enthusiastic. So in the end, when they finish reading it, they should want to meet you. They should see you as somebody they really want to meet and that they see as a good potential employee. Don't go too far by being falsely upbeat or overly passionate or by bragging too much. So I know there's a fine line there, and that's why you need somebody objective to read what you write, because when you're writing it, you're thinking, oh, did I go too far? Did I not say enough? Whatever. So what I find most students do is they don't write enough, that they underplay everything. And you want to stand out. Don't underplay your past experience, even if it wasn't in nursing. If you had some management role, if you've had some really strong background in something, then that says something about you. And you shouldn't underplay that just because it wasn't in nursing. Sometimes it's important and can be highlighted. Okay, now I'm going to show you, let's see. I don't want to end the show. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. I don't want to stop recording, but I want to show you some examples here, some sample letters. Now, this first one I'm going to post for you. This is just an explanation of what to put in each paragraph, just some suggestions, I should say, because there are many different ways to do this, and so many good websites out there, and I have given you those. There's just so much advice you can't even take it all in, and really good stuff. So, help yourself to that and see if you can come up with some original ideas based on that. But let me just tell you in general, let's see if there's anything that stands out at the top. I think I fixed all of this so that everything is, you don't have any abbreviations or anything. And then here's the date, skip a line, and the name of the person you're sending this to, their position, the hospital or facility, city, state, zip code, skip a line, then Dear Miss Turner, and then skip a line. Okay, this is the format I'm talking about. So first paragraph, you're not indenting your paragraphs in a block style letter. Okay, no indentations, just all flush left, and skip a line between paragraphs. First paragraph, you're basically telling them why you're writing to them and name the specific position. Make sure you say the words registered nurse and the unit or area that you're interested in if you know. Maybe how you learned about the position. Sometimes that's appropriate. Sometimes it's really not appropriate if you didn't really learn about it in any special way. State when you're going to be available for employment. Second paragraph, indicate why you're interested in the position, why you wish to work at this particular facility. So again, I kind of went through that already, what you can do for them. So it's just like when I probably have commented on a lot of your objective statements in your resumes. Your objective statement needs to say what you can offer them, not what they can offer you. They can offer you training, experience, a chance to get stronger, a chance to practice your skills, all that. That's not helping them, that's helping you. So be sure that you write this in a way that tells them what you can do for them. Specific achievements, unique qualifications. Like I said, I'm going to post this for you. Then the third paragraph, if you have a third, sometimes there's just 4 altogether. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. So sometimes you only have 3 altogether, I guess. Third paragraph, refer the reader to the enclosed resume, which summarizes your qualifications, education, and experience. And then again, this might be where you're going to elaborate a little bit more on some personal experience or something about your strengths. The final paragraph, ask for an interview, tell them you're interested in interview and tell them when you're available. Repeat your phone number. Let's see, I gave you some information here that might be helpful. And then be sure to thank the reader for their time and consideration. And then your closing should be sincerely or respectfully or something like that, something rather formal. And then you're going to return 4 times, which will give you 3 blank empty lines, and then type your name. You're not signing it at RN because you're not an RN when you mail this, so don't sign it with an RN, and don't put RN in your heading, by the way, either, because later you can, but not now. And the reason you skip 3 lines is so that you can then sign this letter. So if you're actually mailing it, you would sign it. But if you're just sending it by submitting it on their website or whatever, then you're not going to be signing it. Okay, so that's the basic one. Let's go to an example of somebody's actual cover letter. These are some student letters that I've sort of altered a little bit just so that I'm not giving away exactly who it is, even though I do have permission. So I've highlighted some of the areas I thought might be helpful to you. This one is, I was pleased to learn of your residency program for the mother-baby unit. My student clinical experience combined with your residency program will enable me to develop the necessary skills to provide quality patient-centered care to childbearing families at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. I anticipate passing the NCLEX RN shortly after graduation in May 2018. Now, I really like that paragraph, but one thing that's missing is that she didn't immediately say she's applying for the registered nurse residency program. Maybe that would be understood, I'm not sure, but the words registered nurse should be in that first statement. Then she went through some other stuff, and then my experience working with children in the nursery setting, as well as caring for children with disabilities, has guided my decision to focus on promoting health in children. As a student nurse, my clinical experiences in labor and delivery, newborn nursery, and postpartum care have provided me with the foundation needed to be successful in this residency program. My attention to detail, organization, and time management will allow me to contribute efficiently to your team. So see, there's her strengths right there. So there's ways to sort of talk about different things and then incorporate your strengths in there. Okay, let's look at another one. There's so many good examples here. This one I just pointed out because this person's sort of thanking the hospital for helping them, and that might help some of you. If you've gotten some kind of assistance from the hospital you work for, you really should thank the hospital in your cover letter and, you know, acknowledge it at least. I was afforded the opportunity to return to school through the tuition reimbursement and the foundation scholarship at Lexington Medical. The assistance is greatly appreciated as it shows this institution's investment into the staff. I was able to maintain a 3.4 GPA in a rigorous program and earned the award for highest GPA of the freshman ADN class while continuing to work. So that's, you know, just acknowledging their help with that. As a new graduate, it would be a privilege to continue my nursing career and expand on these skills in the scope of an emergency department registered nurse at Lexington Medical Center. So apparently this person already works at Lexington and is saying, what they can contribute now that they are becoming a registered nurse. And then they're thanking the person at the end. Okay, let's look at one more. Let's see. I'm hoping this is the most helpful part, is just to look at examples, because there's only so much you can say about the theory of cover letters. It's really not a lot to be said. As I said, it's always good to sort of compliment the hospital when you're saying why you chose them, and maybe let them know you know a little bit about them. But she said, I learned of this position from the hospital's website, and I was impressed with the hospital's motto on patient care. So she didn't repeat what that was, but I'm interested in the ED because I enjoy working in a fast-paced environment. I know that your ED staff is highly proficient and skillful at treating patients, and I would love the opportunity to be a part of a great team. I am quick in learning new skills and am compassionate with patients and families. My nursing program at OC Tech has provided me the opportunity to spend time in the ED, ICU, and CCU, and I felt comfortable working in those high-stress environments. I also am the Community Health Director for the Student Nurses Association at my school, where I have organized and managed fundraisers. I am not afraid to take on a leadership role. I am willing to be cross-trained in other departments such as the ICU or CCU. I am available to work night or day shifts. If you want to work night shifts, you need to say that in your cover letter. Let me repeat that. If you really want night shifts, you should say that in your cover letter. It will probably get you the job, because night nurses are hard to find sometimes. So if that's your interest, definitely you should highlight it. Okay, so that's the main thing in that one. Let me move on to another one. Sure hope this is working. I'm not recording this for nothing. I hope this recording is working. Okay, let's see. This one, my education has placed a strong emphasis on clinical experiences, providing total patient care, IV therapy, and medication administration. So, kind of highlighting some things about the program. So this person was supplying at Kershaw in Camden, South Carolina, so they would not know OC Tech. In addition to my nursing skills, I have strong professional leadership skills. Previous job experience in management brings initiative, maturity, professionalism, and stability. Kershaw Health, being the recipient of the 2017 Top Performer on Key Quality Measures by the Joint Commission, is the excellence of quality patient care for which I have been prepared and am committed to deliver. Ooh, that's really strong. So you're not only, she got into that sentence, not only a compliment to them, but said an awful lot about herself too. So that was a very strong letter. Okay, so here she's saying, I will be available during my spring break the week of March 5th to discuss career opportunities. I will contact you on March 1st to set up an interview. You can say it that way, or you can just tell them to call you. Okay, that one was Janice. Let me move on to one. I might have another one on here. Yeah, there was one more on here. Let's see. Let me make it bigger. This one was applying at TRMC. Says, I am extremely interested in the position because the MSSU is a setting where one can make an unparalleled impact on a patient's health outcome. I support your facility's mission statement of providing high-quality, compassionate care to all patients and believe that my attention to detail, motivation, and solid nursing foundation would make me an asset to the MSSU team. Through my clinical experiences on many units within your hospital, including MSSU, I have proven to be a reliable and effective provider of care. These experiences have given me a great deal of respect for the quality of care that nurses provide at RMC. There's another compliment. As detailed in my attached resume, I'm currently attending OC Tech, and my anticipated graduation date will be OC Tech provides students with a strong theoretical and clinical foundation and maintains a near 100% NCLEX RN pass rate. While in school, my clinical performance as well as communication skills have been given high evaluations. I know some of you have been asking about how to use your evaluations in your letter, and here you go. I pride myself on being efficient, team-oriented, and always striving for improvement. I am a quick learner and use constructive criticism in order to improve my ability to provide holistic care to every patient that I encounter. Now that is a strong letter, because this person is not just saying, blah, 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 stuff that's they're going to end the letter saying, so what? Remember, you always think about it and say, if they're just going to say, so what, then it's not worth saying. This person is giving them some definite skills, strengths, goals, all those things, so that they know exactly what kind of person this is. Now, please don't copy these word for word, because this person that wrote this letter is still on MSSU, as a matter of fact. So I've changed the names to protect the innocent, but the person who manages MSSU would definitely recognize these words. These are ideas for you to use, which I know you wouldn't do that anyway, right? I'm going to go back. I'm going to leave the screen on this one, but I want to read a couple more things that I don't have on the screen, but I just thought were worth reading to you. Let's see. I am writing to express my interest in joining the Palmetto Health team as a new graduate registered nurse. Palmetto Health has an excellent reputation in the healthcare community. This is why it is my preferred place of employment to begin my nursing career. That's a nice opening right there. Let's see. As you may know, this is on into the body of her paper. As you may know, the ADM program at OC Tech is demanding, thorough, and has a substantial clinical focus. This extensive clinical experience, ranging from medical, surgical to inpatient psychiatric, has given me a solid foundation to begin practicing as a registered nurse. My strong organization skills and commitment to excellence are demonstrated by my cumulative GPA, which I have maintained throughout my college career. Then another paragraph. My path to the healthcare field was not as direct as the paths of others. Here's her personal story now. While I loved my career in the business world, several family illnesses made me see that my real passion was caring for others who were in great need physically and psychosocially. It is an honor to care for patients at such a vulnerable time in their lives, and I take the responsibility of caring for them seriously. It is my aim to show the same compassion and provide the same excellent care to each patient. That was strong. In addition to my heart for nursing and nursing skills, I will bring leadership and strong organizational skills to Palmetto Health. My experience in the business arena has prepared me to manage people and situations, utilize clear and concise communication, and maintain a productive and pleasant work environment. Very positive letter. And part of her last paragraph, the ending, is, I am eager to apply my energy, experience, and nursing skills, as well as to learn and grow within my profession at Palmetto Health. Really like that letter. Okay, let's see. I hope this is helpful. If it's not, just turn it off, because this is what I'm doing, is trying to help you with some examples. Hope you're taking some notes and can kind of combine some ideas. This one is asking for a job at TRMC, and she says in her first paragraph, I would like to join the conscientious team of nurses that I met while doing my clinical rotations. I found that excellent care was provided and the nursing staff was well satisfied with the administration and the work environment. And then she said something about ICU on here. I work well with other healthcare professionals, communicate well, and have excellent attention to detail. I strive to offer the best customer service to patients and their families, as well as always ensure safe practice on the job. I am enthusiastic regarding this position, understanding that an ICU position demands an especially solid foundation in nursing practice and excellent skills in prioritization, critical thinking, and flexibility. That's a really good sentence. If you're applying for ICU, you need to say why they should consider you. If given this opportunity, I will strive to exceed these expectations. So that was a really strong letter too. Okay, I have so many. Um, One little blurb off of this one I was really impressed with. I am confident my skills and knowledge will be best utilized in a critical care setting. I am comfortable in a fast-paced environment which requires critical thinking. As a committed student who takes pride in delivering the best possible care to my patients, I know you will be pleased with my dedication and compassion. Next paragraph. My education has placed a strong emphasis on clinical experiences coupled with a rigorous academic curriculum. I like that because we usually talk about just the clinical part. This has provided a firm foundation for my career. While not typical of all ADN programs, I have been involved with IV therapy and blood administration, titration of IV drugs, and EKG workshop, and an EKG workshop, and numerous leadership opportunities. Our program has consistently received one of the highest pass rates in South Carolina on the NCLEX over the past 20 years. So this person did get this job and actually is a CRNA now. Let's see. This one, a couple of sentences here that were good. This is about the initial paragraph. 2 units of specific interest to me are the intensive care unit and the emergency department, with particular preference for working in the emergency department. Knowing that Roper Hospital has an established reputation for being a progressive facility, it was no surprise when I discovered that national awards were given for providing quality patient care. Next paragraph. With graduation drawing close, my rigorous work ethics throughout school have enabled me to achieve a high GPA and discover my natural abilities to be an astute, productive, and skilled nursing student. Taking advantage of the opportunity to incorporate my work-related experience as a paramedic into nursing will allow me to produce results that will exceed your expectations. Along with my eagerness to learn, I welcome the opportunity to be a part of a challenging, fast-paced environment where a team approach is vital and positive impacts are continually made on the lives of patients and families. Really like that one too. All right, one more. I promise only one more. I'm ending on a good one though. Let's see. Her second paragraph. I hope to be considered for a registered nurse position within your facility, preferably on a medical surgical unit. However, I would also be willing to be considered for a position in the critical care unit. My experience as a student nurse tech at your facility has given me additional confidence and skills to care for patients in an efficient and effective manner. I understand that good patient care requires a solid foundation in nursing practice, education, prioritization, and good communication skills. These skills, coupled with my staying power and patient support expertise, are what I can offer the Palmetto Health Organization as a new graduate registered nurse. Next paragraph. It would be my privilege to continue to work for the Palmetto Health Organization. I would certainly apply the same level of diligence that I have to earning my degree and working as a student nurse tech to that of a new graduate registered nurse. So I think that's also very strong. So I hope these are some ideas that'll help you. That's what my plan was in class, was just to give you some examples. I was going to put them on the overhead so you could read them with me and pass around some samples. So this is probably even better in that you have probably gotten a lot more focus from me and we didn't get off on tangents. So so hopefully this is helpful. Just review the information I've given you. I've told you that you don't have to write a cover letter draft. You can just turn in a cover letter with your resume. But I really don't recommend that because I can tell you that in the past I find many, many errors in most people's most people's cover letters. And not just errors, but just ways that I can suggest a better way or, just having an objective eye for it. So I'm happy to do that for you, but I'm not requiring it. So I'll leave that up to you whether you take advantage of that or not. So I left you some due dates and all that. So I hope this is helpful. I'm going to do a separate video to talk about some of the interview dress code kind of things that I was talking about before. Okay, thanks so much. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Oh boy.